Hey, all you comic readers and true believers, it's Tuesday, and I'm your friendly neighborhood comic guy, Mitch. You guys know what's up. Mitch's Picks. For Marvel Comics, Captain America, The End, written and drawn by Erik Larsen. Guys, if you have not been following the end stories, what's wrong with you? All these stories are basically these heroes at the very end of their life, or at the end of time, depending on what type of hero it is. And this one is no different. Captain America at the very end of his storyline, I guess. He finally defeats the Red Skull, but in the process of doing so, Red Skull releases this virus across the whole world. Anybody who is infected by this virus, whether they breathe it in or even get a scratch from someone who's infected themselves, turns into an almost Red Skull type of person, almost with a hive mind. Captain America can't figure this out. In which case, they basically just start to ransack the entire world, and Captain America is one of the lone surviving people who are not infected by this skull virus. Not really sure why. I figured he'd be exposed to this stuff. He even fights one time, I feel like, and gets blood on him. But hey, anyways, it is a comic book, guys. This is just a one-shot, just like all the other The End stories, but it's a really rad story. Plus, written and drawn by the guy who did Savage Dragon. He's one of the few that left Marvel Comics back in the 90s to start Image Comics, Erik Larsen. Really good stuff, guys. Really classic storyline. Check it out. For Marvel Comics, Immortal Hulk, Great Power, one-shot. Written by Tom Taylor, art done by Jorge Molina. This is a one-shot spinning out of the events of Immortal Hulk. Also kind of has a tie-in a little bit with the Amazing Spider-Man story. Banner wakes up in a crater in the middle of the night, confused as he got there. Not too uncommon for Bruce Banner. The Hulk usually takes over and just kind of plops him into places as he goes on. But for those of you that are reading the Immortal Hulk, you should know that nighttime is the Hulk's time. So it's strange for him to wake up in the middle of the night and be depowered. Come to find out that Spider-Man is in there in New York City, and Spider-Man comes swinging in asking what's going on. Said that he was following him, and that is until Loki showed up, and then he doesn't really remember much. Shortly after that, Spider-Man turns into the Hulk. Not really sure how he got the gamma powers. Why is Bruce depowered? Why has Spider-Man got the powers in this one? This is just a one-shot, all self-contained. It is important maybe to read kind of what's going on in the Immortal Hulk, but you really don't need everything to kind of piece together what's happening in this one-shot. And there is another one-shot coming out in April, I believe, written by Jeff Lemire. But these are standalone stories, great reads for the Immortal Hulk stuff. Gives you a little bit of fill-in what's going on in it, but also just a good read, guys. And plus, Tom Taylor and Jorge Molina, good team up, guys. Check it out. From Image Comics, The After Realm Quarterly, written and drawn by Michael Avon Omi. This is a mini-series, I believe, only coming out quarterly, so once every 3 months, or 4 months. No, 3 months. Math's hard. This is a adventure story taking place right after Ragnarok. Una is a elf ranger, well, actually a banished elf ranger. She's good at what she does, but bad at following orders. But it's hundreds of years after Ragnarok, and people are starting to fall a little bit more complacent, not seeing the horrors of Ragnarok as what they once were. And Una just wants to go around and have an adventure, even going as far as to maybe unleashing some evil that was once trapped because of Ragnarok onto the world, just so she can go and have an adventure. Also, her mother is kind of a little strict with her, forbidding her from even hanging out with one of her closest friends. Not exactly clear as to why, but this person does seem to be not a typical elf, so maybe there's some type of racism in there. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a good fantasy book. Michael Avon Omi, one of the co-creators of Powers, worked with Brian Michael Bendis on that. Also did United States Murder Inc. Plenty of other things out there, but this is the first that I know of fantasy books that's going on. Plus, quarterlies are fun. They're a little bit more expensive, but you get more bang for your buck because this is like 60 pages, and also it's just a nice fantasy fun story for everyone to kind of enjoy, guys. Highly recommend this one. Check it out. For Marvel Comics, Star Wars Darth Vader, #1, written by Greg Pak, art done by Raphael Einko. This is the new series from Star Wars for the Darth Vader series, taking place after Episode 4, just like the original, just like the Star Wars series that came out 2 weeks ago or last month. This book is revolving around Vader. Actually starts with the fight between Vader and Luke in the Cloud City Bespin. Vader, after witnessing his son, realizes all the strength that's inside of him, all the strength of a Skywalker, but he's weak-willed. He's too dependent on others. And Vader is vowing to make himself find who is it out there that made his son so weak. Starting back at the beginning, I guess you could say, going to Tatooine to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's farm to hopefully try to find some link of who raised him and possibly made him into such a weak person, because Vader can't have the Skywalkers running around all weak-willed and whatnot. And along the way, he is kind of reliving a little things from his past. Realize he even goes back to Padme's apartment on Coruscant that was sealed up after her death. Try to find some type of clue as to where she may have given him off to who his influences were, which really was just Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I'm sure Vader's going to find his way on this. This is a new ongoing series for the Star Wars Darth Vader series. Like I said, it's going to take place after Episode 4. After Episode 5, well before Episode 6. So basically, everything is going to be filling in the gaps between Empire and Jedi. Also written by Greg Pak, wrote one of the best storylines for the Incredible Hulk, but just a great writer in general, guys. Highly recommend picking this one up. Check it out. For Marvel Comics, X-Men versus the Fantastic Four, or X-Men / Fantastic Four, #1, written by Chip Zdarsky, art done by Terry Dodson. For those of you who have not been following the X-Men, you living under a rock, some crazy stuff going on in the X-Men. For those of you who have, the X-Men, you guys know that they're all pretty much hanging out on Krakoa. It's a new place for all mutants are accepted there, even the bad guys. But there's only one mutant that hasn't really made their way out to Krakoa yet. He's actually already part, kind of another team, Fantastic Four. Franklin Richards is actually a mutant, an Omega-level mutant, who his powers actually allow him to create universes. If you really want an in-depth explanation of his powers, you should go read the Onslaught story. But in this one, recently his powers have started to fade. It seems like the more he uses them, the less he actually has access to them. And Reed is trying to figure out the best way, but Charles Xavier feels like the best way to do this is to bring him to Krakoa, as Xavier refers to home, and allow them to figure out what's going on with his powers. Reed is not exactly too keen on that, neither is Sue for that matter, and they feel like they're trying to kidnap their son. But Franklin seems like he kind of wants to go along, but knowing how Reed is, he's always doing something that he's too smart to understand, such as like putting tracking chips into his children. That was in the Fantastic Four, by the way. It's not in this book, but it's still an awful thing to do. But yeah, trying to better understand Franklin's powers and possibly help fix his powers, and also maybe have him kind of rub elbows with his fellow mutant kind. It seems to be the goal of Xavier, but like I said, the Fantastic Four don't exactly share those sentiments. At least Reed and Sue. Johnny and Ben, they're a little bit more open to the idea, but still, it is going to be a 4-part miniseries written by Chip Zdarsky, one of the funniest writers and one of the best writers that wrote Spider-Man Life Story, many other things, guys. Terry Dodson, wonderful artist. Highly recommend this book to you guys. Check it out. That's all my picks for this week, everyone. Keep reading your comics, true believers. See you guys next week.